today I have Mark Grafe. He is an elder with the Winnipeg Evangelical Free Church here in Winnipeg. They're hosting a special event. Mark, thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation, Sylvia.
Absolutely. So please share a little bit about what this event is coming up and when it is.
All right. So the details of the event are May 2nd, 7 p.m. Dr. Ewan Goligher is going to come and address those who attend a Christian response to physician-assisted death. And he'll be speaking on two subjects. There will be two 30-minute lectures followed by a 15-minute Q&A. And the first lecture will be titled The Indignity of Death with Dignity, and the second one, Overcoming Suffering by Faith in Death or Faith in Christ. And there is no charge for the event. It's free to anyone who wants to come, but we do want to have a good idea of who's coming, so we're asking people to register. And the link is on the CHVN webpage, as also on our own webpage at thechurchwefc.net.
Perfect. I would love to know, why did the church decide to put on this event?
So this has been on our radar for a while. It's been a subject that your listeners will have heard of, medical assistance in dying, and certain legislations that have come through in regards to that. There are two sure things in life, right? Death and taxes, exactly. And so we've wanted to address this for a while, and it's just a matter of who. Like we can talk about it from a biblical perspective, but we were looking for someone who is in the medical field, who has experience in this, who has knowledge about it. And in my reading and looking, I came across Dr. Goligher's book on death and dying. No, that is not the one. He also wrote that. It's a catechism for Christians. He wrote that with his pastor. But the book that I read was How Should We Then Die? And it just hit home. And the topic is, first of all, so why this topic? It's personal, it's relevant, and we're partnering with Dr. Goligher on this. So it's personal. We experience death. Like it's a for sure thing, right? And, personally, people that have been affected in my life, had a niece who's passed away. My dad's passed away. My wife's parents have passed away. Some close friends, we've walked through that journey of death with them. And it's people, number one, it's personal. So people, we engage with people on that level. There's a lot of questions about it and anxiety about it and nervousness and what if and hope in it for believers of what happens after. It's relevant. It's what people are experiencing. It is either they're thinking about this because of certain issues. Either the pain is so great, either they feel burdensome to their families because of the extraordinary care that's involved with certain experiences that they're going through, excessive pain, a diminished quality of life. Those are all things that people are feeling and engaging with. So it's very relevant to people. And we've found someone who can address this well, we feel, from a biblical Christian perspective. So that's the why.
Awesome. I think you've been talking about it, but when you touch on a subject like dying and then assisted, death, immediately you have to talk about suffering and what that means and is there relevance and all of that, right? Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, are you able to, in a nutshell, cover what the laws are in Canada right now when it comes to MAiD?
No, I can't. So that's why
No
that's why we're bringing in someone who's very qualified to speak to it.
I know they're very open. Like it's very loose.
Yeah. So
in many regards,
it might be helpful, and Dr. Goligher is going to spend some time with this too, and kind of clarifying what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So we're not talking about comfort care. the writing's on the wall, as it were, and our loved one is going down this path, or we ourselves are going down that path, and there's nothing that we can do medically to help us continue to live. And so there's comfort care and palliative care, where same kind of situation as we're being talked about. Or like my dad, who had a cardiac event, you come to the decision where there's nothing more, you got to pull the plug. So the body's going to do what it does, and it just can't survive anymore. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who have come to the decision that for one reason or another, they want our medical professionals to actually provoke death, to bring on death, and to cease living. And so there are certain distinctions, that way that we're talking about. I don't know. Did that answer your question? I kind of rabbit trailed there.
Not at all. Yeah. I would love to know, why is Dr. Ewan Goligher able to talk about this? What are some of his credentials?
He's an associate professor of medicine and physiology at the University of Toronto. He studied medicine at the University of British Columbia, trained in internal medicine, critical care medicine at the University of Toronto. His research focuses on life-saving interventions for patients with acute lung failure. Mm-hmm. So as a specialist in critical care medicine, he cares for patients admitted to the intensive care unit with acute life-threatening illness, and he is regularly involved in helping patients and families navigate these difficult decisions about medical care at the end of life. And so he brings that distinct medical presence and understanding of what's happening to the body at that time, but also as a believer and a Christian who's placed his faith and trust in Jesus for the forgiveness of sin and salvation. He brings that Christian perspective too. So he, as a man of faith, he brings that, as credentialed with his experience and knowledge. He brings that, and as a leader in his own home church too, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's also an elder at his church as well. So those three things combined, just thought, this would be a good man to come address this topic.
He's qualified.
Mm-hmm.
What do you hope people take away from this evening?
First of all, knowledge, understanding, information, but really at the heart of it, I would say that what would be of utmost importance to me is that people would walk away with an understanding of the value they have when they fear God appropriately, when they glorify His name, and when they worship Him. Our relationship to God and our understanding of Him as creator of the sky, the earth, the seas, the springs of water, and everything that's in it. There is such value. And you take God out of the picture, you reduce death to entering into oblivion and obscurity and like nothingness, which I believe that it's not. I think we enter into an eternal state where the consequences of our life are, we deal with that, and we enter God's presence or enter His wrath. And so people's personal relationship with God is really at the burden of my heart. And so I want people to have that hope that that their relationship with God, that they can endure suffering. As we just went through Easter and annual reminder of what Christ has done for us. It is hard to watch The Passion with Mel Gibson, and I don't have the strength for that every year, but this last year I did. And, I'm just reminded that with each lashing, and ridicule. Christ could have had the authority and power to say, no, that I'm not going to do that. But he endured the cross and scorned its shame for our benefit, and he poured out his life for us. And that, Sylvia, is really what is at the heart of it. John describes in the revelation of Jesus in chapter 14, verse, It's verse 7. An angel flying in midair, he proclaims the eternal gospel, and John records him saying, "Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water." This is the eternal gospel. Fear God, glorify his name, and worship him. And so I'm hoping that people will come, that they'll gain an understanding of what's happening here, what death is, and the hope that they can have, and to not despair, to continue on and endure faithfully to the end.
Mm-hmm. I think, when it comes to suffering, every person on this planet will suffer in some way,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you are in the pit of that suffering, at least, again, as a believer,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that Jesus did, when we were reminded at Easter, that
Mm-hmm.
he suffered physically, emotionally, mentally,
Mm-hmm.
all within that time.
Yeah.
He actually really does understand, and that gives me great hope.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
anyway.
And the suffering is real, right? Like
Yes.
there's no taking away from it. It's hard. Like, I don't know the first thing about suffering, but people, are brothers and sisters in the Lord around the world, sure do. And people, here in Winnipeg, southern Manitoba, they're experiencing that. It's tough. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives us the opportunity to care for people who are doing that. So there's the opportunity to allow people around us to care in that situation, which is part of the topic.
Absolutely. If you are interested in a Christian response to physician-assisted death with Dr. Ewan Goligher, you can check it out, and please register. You can find that on our chvnradio.com events calendar.